All right, now let's bring in Sari Bashi, Program Director at Human Rights Watch, for more on this. Sari, thanks for taking the time as well. I want to start with how dire is the situation in Gaza, and what would a ground assault, which seems imminent, mean for civilians there?
The situation is about as bad as it can get. On October 9th, the Israeli military cut food, fuel, electricity, and water supplies to the Gaza Strip. So people are being forced to drink brackish, untreated water because the price of bottled water has gone up beyond what most people can afford. Food is short. There's no electricity. Even emergency generators that hospitals have are running low on fuel, and supplies are dwindling. On top of all that, 2 days ago, the Israeli military ordered half of the population of Gaza in the north to evacuate to the south, even though older people with disabilities cannot evacuate. And the north is the site of Gaza's main hospital, Shifa Hospital, which has been treating the injured, also running out of supplies. The hospital has now issued a call for doctors to come because doctors have evacuated, so there's nobody to treat the patients. And there are many people who still remain in northern Gaza who either cannot or choose not to evacuate because of the dangers of moving to the south.
Yeah, the Shifa Hospital you're talking about, we heard 35,000 people or so are trying to shelter there. I'm wondering, you're talking about the movement of civilians. The IDF has said, head to the south, evacuate because this is coming. What impact have the sort of humanitarian corridors within Gaza, if you can call them that, or just roads, have allowed civilians to evacuate? We've heard some say they can't get south because of things that are happening on the road, and then of course when they get there, there's a border.
So the Ministry of Health in Gaza says that 70 people, mostly women and children, were killed yesterday in airstrikes as they were trying to evacuate according to the roads that the Israeli military designated. The roads themselves are rubble-strewn, fuel is very scarce, and people are afraid to move to the south because the missiles are dropping in the south as well. To tell 1 million people to evacuate in a short period of time under conditions of constant bombardment when there's very little fuel is not providing a safe evacuation road. It raises concerns that the point of the order is to cause terror. And under international humanitarian law, even if you warn people to evacuate, if they don't because they can't, or they choose not to because it's too dangerous, you still have to protect them as civilians. I'm concerned that the Israeli military is using this evacuation order to justify further harm to civilians. And I want to note that since this began, more than 2,000 people in Gaza have been killed, including more than 700 children. At this rate, the Israeli military is killing nearly 100 children in Gaza every day because they are dropping weapons with wide area explosive impact on densely populated neighborhoods. If you drop missiles in the middle of a residential urban neighborhood, you will kill children. And that's what's been happening.
Okay. Well, when these people in Gaza get south, they're encountering a border. Would you like to see more of the countries that surround Israel, more countries in the Arab world, help out here in some way?
I mean, of course, the Egyptians have said that they will open Rafah crossing to a very limited passage if Israel allows humanitarian assistance to enter. In the meantime, there's nowhere for people to go. The Israeli government is not allowing people to flee to the Israeli border, and the Egyptian government is not allowing people to flee to Egypt. So they are trapped in Gaza in a very, very small area with nowhere to go.
Sorry, let me ask you a question, and just to sort of wrap this up. We have a lot of questions about what's happening in Gaza. We've talked to a lot of people in the humanitarian space. Everybody's concerned for human life. But let's take this back to a week ago. You talk about the IDF cutting electricity and water off on the 9th. On the 7th, there was the biggest single-day slaughter of Jews since the Holocaust. So I'm curious, and this is like the million-dollar question, but what would you have Israel do? What would you have the IDF do to respond to something that brutal?
The Israeli government, like the U.S. government, appropriately condemned the war crimes committed on last Saturday, precisely because they targeted civilians. Hamas-led fighters went into Israel and killed children, took families hostage, massacred civilians. The reason that was so horrific is because the laws of war require warring parties to protect civilians. So the answer cannot be for the Israeli government to flout its obligations. The fact that somebody else has committed unspeakable war crimes doesn't mean you can commit war crimes. Cutting off food and water to civilian populations, massive bombardments that kill so many children is not the answer if what you are trying to do is to defend civilians.
Yeah, this is a tough situation all around because they want to eradicate Hamas, and it's in this densely populated area. It's going to be brutal humanitarianly all around. Sari Bashi
you don't need to cut off food and water to eradicate Hamas. It's not necessary.
All right, Sari Bashi from the Human Rights Watch. We thank you for your time and expertise.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.